Coming up on Mountain News this morning, tensions are running high in Pike County as dozens of coal miners are still waiting on money they have already earned. And in Knox County, officials are investigating a possible infectious disease at ARH in Barbourville. Plus, in Frankfort, Kentucky, lawmakers, teenagers, and health officials are taking a stand to put a stop to the state's vaping epidemic.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:33 on January 15th. I'm Madison Pergram, and thank you for joining us on this Wednesday on Mountain News This Morning. If you're just getting up, grabbing that coffee, be prepared. There is fog outside, and you maybe want to grab that umbrella as you walk out the door. Let's go to Brandon Robinson. Brandon, do I have it all summed up?
I think you got it pretty well in a nutshell there, but yeah, so take your umbrella, take your coffee, make sure that you're awake before you hit the roads this morning because that fog is dense. Speaking of which, dense fog advisory in effect until 8 this morning for a lot of areas, but I'll say it again, even though your county may not be included, which is most of a lot of southeastern Kentucky, Lake Cumberland, I-75 down into East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and southern West Virginia, does not mean you're not seeing fog because we had 3 miles of visibility over in Logan, less than 1 mile in Huntington, West Virginia, Prestonsburg and Pikeville, Harlan, which is not in the advisory, and Moorhead there up to the north. So just be careful. Anything less than 5 miles is very dense fog. Temperatures split right there along the Hal Rogers Highway 80 corridor. To the north, it's in the 40s. To the south, it's in the 50s. And we'll head towards 65 today. But you'll see temperatures a little bit cooler than they were this time yesterday morning, if you can believe that, even with those warmer temperatures down south. Scattered rain chances today, maybe some storms in the mix. Cooling down as we get behind our first cold front, and the second one will take us back to winter as we head into the end of the weekend. I'll have the rest of the forecast coming up here in a little bit. Madison.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, tensions are running high in the Kemper community of Pike County, where more than 50 miners who work for Quest Energy are waiting for their money. On Monday, some of the miners saw a couple weeks worth of money come into their accounts, but some have not been paid at all. They say they do not believe they will ever work for Quest Energy again, so they will stay until the debt is paid.
All we want is what we work for. We want a 3 weeks paycheck because we know if we go back, we're not going to have a job and we'll never get it.
Pike County Judge Executive Ray Jones did say the county is working with the Labor Cabinet. They hope to hold a meeting on Friday for miners to be able to file claims for wage and hour violations. And Pikeville Medical Center is using robotic technology to help patients get back on their feet. WYMT's Marianne Fletcher talked with a physical therapist about how the LocoMat has helped change lives.
As a physical therapist, Tracy Tipton sees many walks of life.
They're like, you want me to do what?
Even some who struggle to walk through life.
We saw changes automatically. He's the first person we put in it.
This is the LocoMat. The piece of robotic technology helps those suffering from neurological injuries.
Taking the weight off of the spine by taking the weight off the legs and then repetition.
While walking may seem easy to many, some are not that lucky.
Just seeing that little kid be able to go to school on crutches and not on a walker, you know, that's just rewarding in itself.
Officials with Pikeville Medical Center say technology like this trains the brain to relearn this movement.
This whole thing is about practice, and practice makes perfect in all of our lives.
Sometimes walking may seem far-fetched.
He had a brain disorder that was not going to get better, it was a progressive disorder, but we improved his quality of life.
Other successes help patients feel accomplished.
I mean, that's why I'm a physical therapist, to see the success.
Tipton says it is the tread to success that makes the hard work worth it. In Pike County, Marianne Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, if you would like to possibly receive treatment from the LocoMat, you will need a referral from your doctor and a physical therapy evaluation. The LocoMat can be used in both inpatient and outpatient. And officials with the Kentucky Department for Public Health and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are investigating a possible infectious disease at ARH in Barbourville. We have learned from the president of Union College that it is a student, but that there is no risk to the public. We do not know who the student is, but officials say rumors circulating social media are false. However, the public is still concerned about the potential issue.
It's awful. We have kinfolk that work over there. I hope to God that they, none of us or none of our family catches it while it's there, or anybody in our community.
ARH officials tell us they do expect to release more on this later today, and currently the hospital is open for all business. And by now you may have heard that the flu is widespread in the Commonwealth. This flu season is on track to be one of the worst in recent history, and it just keeps getting worse here in Kentucky. And now schools are ramping up hygiene efforts to help students stay healthy. Staff at Stennett Elementary are going the extra mile to not only disinfect before and after school, but also during.
We want our kids in the building a lot because that's how the kids get their education, was in the building. But when you have the amount of sickness, you've got to take the precautions and keep the place clean.
And while most believe you are not contagious until after symptoms show, you are actually contagious 48 hours before they begin. So remember to wash your hands and stay home if you are ill. And meanwhile, 2 Eastern Kentucky school districts are closed the rest of the week and next Monday, which is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, for illness. Officials in Lawrence County say one of their schools had less than 60% attendance by the end of the day yesterday. Owsley County is also closed until next Tuesday. In Kentucky, lawmakers, teenagers, and health officials are taking a stand to put a stop to the state's vaping epidemic. All 3 groups met at the Capitol yesterday to discuss ways to keep teenagers from vaping. The Foundation for a Healthy Kentucky says they have 3 legislative priorities: funding smoking prevention, raising the age to buy e-cigarettes to 21, and taxing e-cigarettes. During a rally yesterday, one student shared the health issues she dealt with from vaping. She says she was able to quit this past summer.
When I was a freshman in high school, my first year, I was at a football game and I was exposed to the product and I was immediately hooked. And it took me over a year and 4 separate Juul devices to finally quit.
Now, lawmakers have already pre-filed 2 bills this legislative session targeting youth e-cigarette use. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear called on lawmakers to set aside their differences, work together, and pass laws dealing with health care, criminal justice reform, and education. Beshear spoke to his joint General Assembly for the first time since being sworn in as governor last month. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what the governor said and reaction from legislative leaders.
Governor Andy Beshear was welcomed into chambers where lawmakers will consider hundreds of pieces of legislation this year. He's calling on them to pass some priorities, one of them dealing with education.
So I think it's time that we come together, all of us, in support of public education, because this is a new opportunity.
Beshear spoke of investing in schools and teachers as a way to improve Kentucky's low rankings. He said there needs to be criminal justice reform to reduce the size of the prison population while also lowering crime rates.
It must provide meaningful treatment and recovery services for addiction. It must consolidate and not expand our state prison institutions.
The governor continues to ask for a spirit of unity and civility while they take numerous responsibilities.
It means that we must turn the lost and the lonely and the left behind into the found, the friended, and a meaningful part of Team Kentucky.
Legislative leaders say that the speech was very pleasant. They said that it was high on pleasantries and also high on priorities. They question, where is the money going to come from to pay for the laundry list of things the governor asked for?
Look, Lawrence, the only thing he didn't propose was puppies.
One thing lawmakers and the governor may agree on is a way that could bring in some additional revenue.
Representative Adam Koenig has filed a sports betting bill. I fully support it, and we should pass it.
It's not one of my priorities. I'm neither for or against it. I'm somewhat ambivalent. I think it generates some money.
That bill will have its first hearing in a House committee tomorrow. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, like Phil said, that bill will have its first hearing in the House committee later today. Governor Beshear will lay out more of his spending and revenue priorities when he delivers his budget address in just less than 2 weeks.
Forecast this morning starts off foggy, but we're also seeing a few scattered showers across the region too on the satellite radar loop for the last 6 hours. Actually cleared out a little bit overnight. Dry conditions, but not dry in the air because of that fog. We're seeing limited visibility across the region. Dense fog advisory until 8 for most of the area. 40s and 50s this morning, so a mild morning as you head out the door, heading towards 65 this afternoon. That's the last 60 you'll see on the forecast for probably the rest of the winter time as we head deeper into it. Madison.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Coming up, we'll have a pet in our studio looking for a good home.